why contrastive learning is awesome. So let's say you have a classification problem. You're trying to assign different labels to different data points. And let's say you have two kind of points, green points and red points. So here are some green points on our 2D projection, and here are some red points on our 2D projection, right? So during classification, the model is trying to learn the decision boundary between those points. It's a kind of binary classification problem, right? If the model predicts that the point is red, but it should be green, we have an error, and we have the loss function. But during standard classification, we can only learn from one sample at a time. So the error comes from how far are we from this decision boundary. And the decision boundary is adjusted to be as far from green points as possible and as far from red points. But one example is one loss information. But in contrastive learning, we treat this problem differently. So let's say we have some green points again, and then we have a red point. So contrastive learning is trying to minimize the distance between the green points and maximize the distance between green and red points. Some points of different classes should be further apart, points from the same class should be close together. So during the training process, the model learns to encode those green points together and to encode the red point further apart. So if we give the simplified version of the loss function, our loss would look like this. So let's say this is example 1, this is example 2, this is example 3, right? So we want to minimize the distance between x1 and x2, and we want to maximize the distance between x1 and x3, right? So we want those points to be close together and the other points to be further apart. So when you think about it, now we can sample those similar and unsimilar points, so points of the same class and points of different class, all across our dataset, right? So we can sample those 2 points that should be close together, we can sample those 2 points, we can sample those 2 points, and then for the negative examples, so examples that should be further apart, we can sample those points, we can sample those points, we can even sample those points.